hello, Zalo, hola. Welcome to Midweek Toast. I changed actually where the chat pops up. Hopefully that'll help me be able to see it better. But you can let me know if you like it or don't like it. Okay. So I have over here, so I can show you, right here is my pan over here, and it's heating up. This thing does take a while to heat up, so it's getting there. It's good. I had it started before we started the stream, so it's getting there, but this thing takes like 10 minutes to heat up. So we have that, and I'm going to show you how to make a peanut butter sauerkraut toast. But I'm not using cabbage sauerkraut. I'm using a sour beet green. So it's not with cabbage, but it's with beet greens. You can do it with cabbage. I've done it with cabbage before. I've also done it with kimchi before, which is similar thing, right, to sauerkraut. But if you like beets, I love beets. If you like beets, I highly recommend that you ferment the beet greens like you would sauerkraut. And I'm going to show you what that looks like now. And maybe on another stream, I can show you how to actually make it. But I have it already made here, so I'll show you what it looks like. So I have my bread. This is my homemade sourdough, whole wheat. This one's whole wheat sourdough. And I made it last week, so it's a little bit stale, but it's actually not. I don't know if you can see. It's still pretty soft. This piece was the end piece, so this piece is a little harder. But it's, like I said, it's amazing how long sourdough will last. Really, really amazing. So, but once I put the ingredients on it, it'll soften up because there's a lot of soft ingredients we're putting on here. And heat it up, of course, in here. So, now I'll show you what else we have to put on this toast. Let's see if you can see. There you go. So, we have our bread. Then I'm going to put on some peanut butter. I was gonna say our star, but our star I think is the sauerkraut. The beet sauerkraut is our star. So we're gonna put on some peanut butter. You can put on regular peanut butter. This is my spicy peanut butter. Last week I was showing you my achari peanut butter, which is just made with Indian pickle spice. This week, I'm not using that one, although I've never done it before, but I think you could use that one. This peanut butter is also my homemade peanut butter, but I just put cayenne in it, and I didn't put any other like spices like in the last week's one. This one's a little hard. It was in the fridge. Okay. So you just want to put on some peanut butter. You don't have to go ham, but you can if you want. But I mean, honestly, I think once they put too much on it, it wasn't as good. So you just want to put both sides with like, just cover both sides. Cover both sides. Maybe it's like a tablespoon in total. I would say like a tablespoon in total. Because we're going to put more ingredients in here. Okay. So now we have our peanut butter on. Now I'm going to add this peanut chutney. It's a dry peanut chutney. I think it's called shangdana or something like that. Please correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But there are different names for it too, and it originates from India, but there are different names for this, right? But it's a similar thing. It's just peanuts, but it's not, no water, so you don't make it into like a peanut butter. You just make it into like a powder. And then you add spices like red chili and cumin and garlic. So If you're interested in this, I can post a recipe on this. Or I can show you where I found the recipe online. Although I made changes to the original, so it's not really the traditional one, but it's the same concept. So I'm gonna put on one side or both sides. I think on one side. I usually do it on one side. So I'm just gonna put this on one side. And then if you want, this is optional, but I add a little bit more cayenne to this because I like it to be spicy, but there's already spice in here, so you don't need to be crazy like me. That's more than enough. And then here's the star, and I'll show you. I brought this out because I wanted to show you this. This is my fermenting crock. It seals on the top, so it keeps everything in there, but it allows bubbles to come out. It's a waterlock crock, so if you're interested in fermenting things and you want to ferment, like, this is a smaller one. They make huge ones, but this is a good size for us. This ferments more than enough for us. I think I have 2 heads of beet greens in here, so that gives you an idea. I had it in the fridge because I made it a few weeks ago. But essentially all I do is I chop up the beet greens and I massage salt into it. Then I put it in here, put some brine over it if it doesn't fill up. If the water from the beet greens doesn't fill up the crock, which it won't, the beet greens still have enough water. So you add some more water to it. And then you seal it up for about a week, sometimes less. They ferment pretty quickly, and if you leave it too long, it'll get kind of mushy and yucky. So don't overdo it. And yeah, and then you get fermented beet greens there. I'm gonna get a good piece for you so you can see. There you go. They're beautiful and purple. So you can see here, I put the stems in too. So I have the stems in here too. But there's also, I want to get a good piece of the green. Here you go. Here's what the green will look like when it's done. See, it's drip. I have it on the board because the beet greens are messy, dripping purple everywhere. And it tastes like very umami. It's, I think it's even better than sauerkraut. It's very umami. It's more delicate than sauerkraut, I would say. But this sandwich, and my husband concurred, so it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me who said this. My husband concurred that this sandwich tastes like grilled cheese. It's because of the beet greens, obviously. Well, a spicy grilled cheese, of course. But the beet greens have so much flavor, so much umami flavor that it did taste kind of like a cheese, and salty umami. Okay. So that should be good. Let's see. This piece got too thick, I think, a little too thick. So I'm just going to put it in and then I'm going to flip it. You don't have to do anything fancy. You don't have to add, if you're using a cast iron like I am, you don't have to add a bunch of oil and butter unless you want to. But you don't have to, and I'll show you. Cast irons are good because they're seasoned. So there is a little oil on it already because it's a cast iron, and I just always have it oiled, but it's just lightly oiled. Be careful. Okay. Okay, good. You can hear it sizzling, so that's good. I'm gonna put the cap back on. I'm lowering it a little bit because I know this thing gets really hot, even though it takes so long to heat up, but then it gets really hot. And then I have this little spatula here to help me flip it. So we'll let it sit there for 2 or so minutes. I'll check on it. I'll just see if it's getting brown. You don't want it to burn, but you also don't want to underdo it because it'll be soggy from the beet greens. So you want to make sure it's nice and crispy and brown. So, is anyone in the chat? How was your week? How was your week so far? I just got done with work. I worked in the morning today, so that's why I do this at 1 p.m. So I work from 8 to 12. So I just got done with work, but it was a nice day at work. I always complain about this. The students are. I work as a teacher. I'm like a teacher's aide. Um, so I kind of sit in the back of the class and watch the class and help out when needed. But the students in this class are not very proactive. It's a college class, and they're all on their phones. There was more than half of them. I counted. I didn't have anything better to do, so I'm counting the students that are on their phones. It's not my job to reprimand them, unfortunately, or I would reprimand them because they shouldn't be on their phones. More than half the students on their phones. Like, can't even believe it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. While the professor is talking, while the professor is explaining the instructions for the next assignment, you think you'd be paying attention. Then what will happen next week? Oh, I don't know what the next assignment is because you weren't paying attention. You were on your phone. Sometimes with their big headphones on, like just to show that they're not listening to you. It's really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. But I think I told you last week, because this is so unbelievable, I keep mentioning it. The student in a different class, they were in the computer lab, and I was, standing in the back of the class and watching them. And he was watching anime on the computer instead of writing an essay. So I went next to him and just stood next to him so he knew I was there. And then he turned it off. Then when I walked back to the back of the class, he put it back up. Obviously, I can see it. That's why I walked up to you. I could see it before, and I could see it now, right? But it was nuts. But yeah, maybe we should change the topic from technology use, because I always get on my high horse on this, and maybe there's some more interesting topics to talk about. What is everyone eating? Is anyone eating lunch now or already had lunch? What are you all eating for lunch? I'm sure you're not eating a peanut butter and beet green sandwich, although I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. And if you have any weird sandwich ideas, put them in the chat. I want to know. I love weird sandwiches. Okay, I'm going to check on it. Be careful, especially when you're cooking in your living room in an unconventional area. You should be very careful. Oh yeah, I think it's done. Oh yeah, ooh, that looks good. It's a little brown, but honestly, that's what we want. Looks like some uneven cooking. That might be from this thing. On your stove, it should be better. But it looks good. Yeah, so we can talk about these crocks because I love using these crocks. I use them for not only beet greens, but I also ferment beets in here. And the beets are very good. Pickled beets are so good, but if you ferment them at home, they're so much different than the pickled beets you're going to get at the store, because those are usually not even fermented. They're usually quick pickled with a vinegar, which is still delicious. But and they're usually softer too. And I ferment them, you can ferment them as long as you need to. Although, again, be careful because it might get a little yucky, but beets will be okay. The beet greens, definitely you need to be wary of them, how long you do it. But the beets themselves are a little sturdier. So if you want them to be softer, you can ferment it longer, but they're still, if you ferment them for a week, they're still crunchy, and I really like that. They're crunchy pickles. Whereas the ones you get at the store are usually soft. So I really like that. What else have I fermented? I really like, and I can show you that too, especially come fall, I'll probably make another batch of the fermented cranberries. Cranberries are, for any of you who are not on the East Coast of the United States, cranberries are a little red berry that's very sour, and it's grown like a lot in New Jersey. I know it's also grown a lot in Massachusetts as well. There's probably other states too where it's grown. It has to be by the coast because it needs the nutrients from the ocean, believe it or not. That's why it's grown on the coast. But the cranberries are very sour, and most people don't eat them raw. I like to eat them raw. Most people don't eat them raw. Usually they eat them with cranberry sauce that has a lot of sugar added to it, or dried cranberries, which also have a lot of sugar added to them. But if you ferment them, it actually takes away some, believe it or not, you think it might get more sour. It actually takes away some of their sourness. They're still sour, but they're not as astringent. They're a little easier to manage. So I really, really like to ferment the cranberries. They're delicious. You can put them on sandwiches like this. You can put them in salads. You can just eat them like as a snack. So I'll have to show you that as well, if you guys are interested. Okay. I think it's done. I just turned it off. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's good. I know people do that all the time to show you that it's done or that it's crunchy. So yeah, it's crunchy, and the other side is crunchy too. Not as brown because I think I turned it down a little. You can see the unevenness a little in the cooking, but it's still good on this side. I think that's just from this thing. I'm going to move this so I don't burn myself. Always use protective handwear. So yeah, let me move that. There you go. Okay, so let's try it. I mean, I already told you what it tasted like, so hopefully this one is just as good as my memory serves. I think I cut this bread a little thick, but other than that, it's good. So, how is everyone's week going? Okay, Mom. Okay, Mom asked, I'm late, what kind of sandwich? So, I made a peanut butter and beet green sauerkraut sandwich. So, what I did was both sides had peanut butter on it. Then I added a dry peanut chutney, which is just, it originates from India, but essentially it's just peanuts, cumin, chili, and garlic. There might be other spices that I'm forgetting, but those are the main spices. I added cayenne because I wanted to be more spicy. And I added the beet greens, which I have here in my crock. I fermented them for a week, and then I kept them in the fridge, and they've been there for a few weeks. So they last indefinitely in the fridge. And okay, Mom asked, interesting, sounds spicy. Do you make your own peanut butter? Yes, I make my own peanut butter. It is spicy. It's a little spicy, not too spicy, but a little spicy. And I make my own peanut butter. Really, if you have a high-powered blender, peanuts are the easiest nut to make into a butter. They just cream up really fast. Like it was destiny for them to be peanut butter. You can just throw roasted peanuts into your blender and just keep going for 2 to 3 minutes and it'll become peanut butter. I promise. I have a Vitamix, which is helpful. But if you have any other high-power blender, you can do it. Has anyone else tried to make nut butters at home? Yeah, it's crunchy because I grilled it right here. So it got nice and crunchy. But it's good. It's how it's supposed to be. If you don't cook it long enough, the beet greens will make it too soft. Because the beet greens are sitting in the liquid, so they're pretty. You can even see. I don't know if you think it's gross to see my bite marks, but you can see the beet greens that have a lot of liquid in them. So you don't want that to make the sandwich soggy. Um, does anyone else like to make their own nut butters at home? I usually just make peanut butter. I've tried other nut butters, but I feel like they don't get as creamy in the Vitamix. Like almond butter just is always thick and tacky. I think that's really the only one I've really tried. I mean, no, that's not true. I've made Nutella with hazelnuts, and that was actually very creamy. That came out very, very creamy. But it might have been because of the chocolate. It might have helped. But that one did come out creamy. But other than that, I feel like peanuts are the nut that is meant to be butter. Other nuts don't seem to want to be butter as easily as peanuts. So that's my experience. And like I was saying before, my husband thinks this sandwich tastes like grilled cheese, and I agree. It does taste a little like grilled cheese. Obviously, it's not grilled cheese; it doesn't have the same texture, cheesiness, but it has that kind of umami saltiness from the beet greens. The beet greens are really a powerhouse. So I mean, if you don't like beet greens, just make your own sauerkraut with cabbage, or make kimchi or something. But I think the beet greens are really, really, really good. If you like beets and you have the greens left over, ferment them. That's the best way. I think it's the best way to use them. For a while, like I don't really like raw beet greens. And if you cook them, I think they taste a little like spinach, which is okay, but it's not my favorite. But this, I can gobble this all up. So this is my number one way to prepare beet greens. Has anyone in the chat ever made their own sauerkraut or kimchi? Or really, has anyone in the chat fermented anything on their own before? It's really not that hard. It's really simple. My cat is eating lunch too. I don't know if you can see him. No, he'll come back out. He's eating lunch too. But yeah, it's really, oh, there he is. So yeah, it's really simple. Really, you can ferment anything if you just, say for example, fill up this, or we can even use the example of a standard mason jar. A standard mason jar is 4 cups, right? So what you need to do is you need to fill up the mason jar, not to the top. You want to leave at least like an inch or so of space. So with that, whatever you want to fill it up with, cucumbers, beets, sauerkraut, or cabbage, really. Whatever you want to fill it up with. You can do carrots. The world is your oyster. Radishes. I don't like radishes, but you can make fermented radishes. You press it down as much as you can. Then you get 2 cups of water mixed with a tablespoon of salt. And then you just mix that. You put that into the mason jar. And preferably, you'd have a weight on it to keep the food down because the food has to be underneath the brine, underneath the water and salt brine. But you can leave that out for about a week and it most likely will ferment. Different foods might have different fermentation times, but it will happen. So yeah, it's pretty easy to do. So I highly recommend trying if you're interested. You don't even need a crock. You can do it in a mason jar, like I said. That's how I used to do it, but I was just doing it too much, so I got a crock for it. Does anyone have a favorite type of sandwich? I really like banh mi's, or at least the ones I make, which I'll have to show you how to make one day. They're really easy. It's a Vietnamese baguette sandwich, and it's usually made with a lot of meat, right? It's a lot of pork and things like that. But I make it with mushrooms, and I use pickled because usually they use pickled radishes on them, but I don't like radishes, so I use pickled beets on it. And then it's like a lot of herbs. So whatever herbs you can get your hands on. If I go to the Thai store, which there's one in New York City, I think in Chinatown, would make sense. There's one in. Salo says his favorite sandwich is tortas, which is also a really good sandwich. That's a Mexican sandwich. Um, there's some similarities I think between the banh mi and the torta. But yeah, the banh mi, you want to put a bunch of herbs on it, like cilantro, Thai basil if you can find it. There's a lot of different herbs you can put on it, but really whatever you have. I've even just done it with parsley if that's all I have. I like parsley a lot. But yeah, you want to put herbs on it, and then you can put like a spicy mayo, or you can use avocado if you don't want to use mayo. I mean, I'm crazy about peanut butter, so I'll put peanut butter on it. Whatever you want to use as the spread. And then I think that's it. I think that's all the components, but it's really, I mean, the pickles and the meatiness of the mushrooms and the sour of the pickles and then the freshness of the herbs. It's really an excellent sandwich. It's an excellent sandwich. Now tortas are different. They're like, they're made of like, they're not on a big baguette, but they're on those little buns that are that big. And usually there's like a refried bean spread. There could be avocado too. So there's a refried bean spread, and then there's some type of meat. And I think I've seen it with cilantro on it too or something. I remember when my husband and I went to Mexico City, we got tortas. We got vegan tortas, right? And so, they put a plant-based meat on there. I don't remember what it was exactly. I think mine was a soy-based meat. It might have been seitan though. I don't really remember. And then it was okay. But then they gave me pickled jalapenos, and then it was excellent. So there's some overlap there, right? Like the pickles really make it. So on the banh mi, they usually put pickled radishes, and I use pickled beets. And then on the torta, they gave me pickled jalapenos. So the pickles really make the dish, is what's going on here. That's what's going on here. Has anyone here tried baking their own bread yet? Because this channel, although this is like a side segment, but this channel is based on baking sourdough. And I have some information on my blog and on my YouTube channel, and everything is just, it's on Twitch. All my channels and my blog is linked on Twitch, and it's all at Jersey Girl Bread Shop. So you can find me anywhere at Jersey Girl Bread Shop. But I have some instructions on how to make your own sourdough starter and how to make your first loaf of bread, and I'm going to post instructions hopefully today. I mean, I've been working a lot, so it's kind of been pushing it back, but hopefully today, if not tomorrow, I'll post instructions on how to make sourdough bagels, which I streamed last weekend. If you guys missed it, I streamed sourdough bagel baking last weekend, and also miso banana bread we streamed last weekend, which you know, I hope to get that on the blog by the end of this week, but we'll see. I want to recipe test it a few more times, which I think is going to happen tomorrow. So if you're interested in sourdough baking, stick around. Next weekend, I'm going to do, with this coming weekend on Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be doing some sandwich bread. So I'm going to be making 3 sourdough sandwich breads. One is a multigrain bread, one is a rye bread, and another one is a whole wheat bread. And it's going to be very similar to my standard sourdough process, but we're going to shape them differently at the end. So I'm going to show you how to shape it into a sandwich loaf, which is good. I mean, if I had a preference, I like this one, just the long shape. I don't know, I like it. But if you want your sandwiches to be perfectly square, then that's what you need. So Woody says hi. Hi, Woody. Welcome. So yeah, I was just saying that this weekend we're going to stream how to make sourdough sandwich loaves. Yeah. So come if you're interested in learning how to make sourdough sandwich loaves. I'm going to do that Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. That's where I'm going to start. And so hopefully from now on we'll do Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesdays I might not do every Wednesday. I'm thinking of doing the first 3 Wednesdays in the month, and then skipping the 4th one for every month, just to give myself more time to work on like uploading YouTube videos or updating my blog or etc. All the other things that come up in life. But my main segment though is on Saturday. Something else you can ferment onions, and that might sound gross, but it's actually delicious. So an onion sandwich, peanut butter and onions, or cheese and onions, do vegan cheese and onions, is really good. Really good. And you can also use your fermented onions for other sandwiches, like Zalo mentioned tortas. You can use fermented or pickled onions on tortas. That would be really, really good. So I highly recommend. You've seen last week, or it must have been last week, I did show you pickled onions that I made like a quick pickle, which you can also do with just vinegar. So I made quick pickled onions, and I was putting that on the peanut mole sandwich. It might have been my first stream, honestly. That might have been my first stream. Zalo said Sri Lanka has some good onions. Yeah, there's an onion relish that I thought I've only been streaming for 2 weeks, and I'm already forgetting what I showed you. I think I showed you this relish. So for those of you who don't know, 2 weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, I went to Sri Lanka with my husband, and they make this great onion relish called sini sambal. If you're interested in making it yourself, look it up. It's very easy to make. It's just a caramelized onions and spice relish. I believe it's like onions, cardamom, cinnamon. The ingredient you might have trouble finding is tamarind, which is you can buy in a paste, which is how I buy it. But it's actually fruit and it comes in pods. But I've seen it in grocery stores where I am. But depending on where you are, you might not be able to find it in a grocery store, a regular grocery store anyway. But if you have an Asian grocery store, you can find it there. And it's really good because it's sweet, salty, and spicy. It's really, really good. And they would put it in, well, they put it on curries, but also they put it in roti, which is a bread. It's a flatbread, and they like stuff the flatbread with the sini sambal, and that was really good. So yeah, Zalo, who is my husband, by the way. That's not a secret. He is. Zalo was saying that Sri Lanka has some good onions. Yes, Sri Lanka has good onions. Sri Lankan food in general is really good. What can I say? In fact, the airplane food. I know I talked about Sri Lankan food already, so why don't I emphasize that Sri Lankan Airways, I believe it is, Sri Lankan Airways, had great airplane food. And that was their first introduction to Sri Lankan cuisine, other than like things I've made myself from recipes I found on the internet. They gave us sini sambal on the airplane. They gave us milk rice. I forgot the Sri Lankan name for it, but it's not made with real milk. It's made with coconut milk, and the English name for it is milk rice. And they gave us curried potatoes, and that was the best airplane food I've ever had. It was so good, so good. So yeah, if you're a foodie, especially those of you might be watching might be vegans or vegetarians, yeah, Sri Lanka is definitely a good destination to go to. The food's great, so many vegan and vegetarian options, and we were never for want of anything. They also have great, I don't know if I mentioned this, they also have great juices. And the juice there is more like a smoothie. Like you order a juice, but it comes chunky like a smoothie. And you might think that's gross, but it's not. It's actually great. The mango juice is really good. They also had great watermelons there, which was, I guess, a little unexpected. I'm not a big watermelon person, but they had like the little watermelons, which were they were like pretty firm, I guess, but also still sweet and juicy. I really like those. Those are really good. But they made watermelon juice too, and that was really good. But yeah, highly recommend. Has anyone traveled recently? And what's your favorite place to travel to, if so? My husband and I also went to Mexico City. This was years ago, though. And believe it or not, the vegan food there is great. The vegan scene there is great. There are taco trucks that are just all vegan, multiple taco trucks that are all vegan. Salo said they feed you well on the Sri Lankan trains. They they give you one of everything. And then OK Mom asked, "What was your favorite place you visited?" That's a good question. And to talk to Zalo's point about how they feed you well on the Sri Lankan trains, yeah, that's something I forgot to mention. So on the trains, there's food vendors on the trains. And they give you snacks. They're usually like fried things. Usually like almost like they're little triangles. Those are our favorite ones. They're little triangles, and it was a roti wrapped up and to make a little triangle, and they're stuffed with some kind of spicy vegetable thing, or fish. A fish is very common in Sri Lanka, but you can just avoid it by asking for the vegetarian version. So when the vendor came up and we wanted to try something, we asked him for like, "Oh, do you have anything that's vegetarian?" And he goes, he he opens up this big container of all his stuff, and he just goes vegetarian, 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 and gave us one of everything. And we just gave him. I think it was, for us, it's not that expensive. I don't remember how much it was. Like the currency there is rupees, and it was, for compared to American dollars, it was nothing. So we just gave him the money and took. We didn't want like 5 things, but yeah, it was good for the train ride. It was good for the train ride, and it was really funny. So we enjoyed that. And what was the favorite place I visited? That's hard because there's so many, and I visited. Oh, Death Duck is back. Hi, Death Duck. We're talking about my favorite place I visited. So, Death Duck, if you want to answer the question too, what's a place you visited that you really liked, and how was the food there? But favorite place I visited, I feel like that's hard just because I visited a lot of different types of places, and like they're kind of far apart in this time span that I visited them in. Like, I was in a different stage in my life, I guess. Because I kind of want to say my favorite place was Sri Lanka, but that's the place I just went to. So I don't know if it's because it's fresh in my mind, that I just went there and it's so fresh in my mind. Also, Mexico City is up there too. Mexico City is really, really cool. I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna say it's Sri Lanka. I might change my mind in the future once I have some space. It's only been 2 months, but just like the first of all, there are monkeys there. Okay, I love the monkeys, and nowhere else I visited had monkeys. Um, and there's also flying foxes. Um, I really like flying foxes. Are, if you don't know, they're bats, but they're huge bats. They have like a 5 foot wingspan, and they're called flying foxes because they kind of look like foxes. I think they look like chihuahuas with wings. They're very cute, and they only eat fruit, so they're not dangerous to humans. And we saw a colony of those. So there were like hundreds of bats, and they were so fuzzy and so cute. So we saw bats. So that was really awesome. And there's no other place I've been to that was quite like that with the wildlife, and the natural scenery. And yeah, that was fantastic. The natural scenery was fantastic, and the food is great. So I really have to give it up to Sri Lanka for being a great tourist destination. Um, the locals are mostly nice, although although I think local customs are just a lot different there. Um, but yeah, I think Sri Lanka. I have to give it hands down to Sri Lanka. But for those of you who just entered, I'm almost done with my lunch. Unfortunately, it took me almost an hour to eat it, but it Usually it doesn't take me that long to eat. I'm actually kind of a fast eater naturally, so an hour to eat is actually kind of slow for me. Death Duck said my favorite place that I visited, where I always think about how food. The Okay, Thailand. Death Duck said his favorite place to visit was Thailand. We actually went to Thailand too, and the food is really good. I was actually surprised that it was like, I guess, more meat heavy than I expected. But we did have good food in Thailand. There are vegetarian restaurants. The problem is Death Duck compared to Sri Lanka. In Thailand, most of the vegetarian and vegan restaurants were aimed at tourists. So it wasn't like the local cuisine. Although we did have some Americanized cuisine that was really good, and we did have some local cuisine that was really good. But for us, since we are vegan, Sri Lanka was just so good because the vegetarian restaurants served the locals as well. Like it wasn't like just for tourists. So we got some good local cuisine. One of our favorite places for lunch was a dosa place, and you probably Death Duck know what dosas are, but for those of you who don't, it's like a crepe. It's a savory crepe made with lentils, and they can fill it up with a bunch of. Usually in here, we actually have a lot of dosa spots here too because there's a large Indian population, and they usually fill it up with potatoes. But there are so many options. In Sri Lanka, there's one, I forgot, the one I got was filled with like a tomato chutney and onions and cilantro, I believe, and it was the best dose I've ever had. And it comes with side chutneys too, but I didn't need the side chutneys because the tomato chutney in the inside was really good, so I didn't need it. So yeah, that was amazing. And it was the whole restaurant was a vegetarian restaurant. Um, and then Death Duck says, yeah, the food had lots of meat. Good for a meat leaning carnivore like us ducks. Yeah, I like ducks. And yeah, it was amazing. Death Duck definitely was amazing. If you live in an area that has like South Asian restaurants, try to find not only an Indian restaurant, but an Indian restaurant that has South Indian food. North Indian food is really good, but South Indian food is where they give you the platter with all the different chutneys, and all they give you soup usually, dosas, papadums, which are like the rice, the big rice cakes, and that's like amazing. That's where you're gonna find that kind of spread, is in the South, not only Indian but South Indian restaurant. Um, so I highly recommend that. But yeah, I'm almost done with my lunch. But I'll tell you what I put on it for those of you who just entered. It is a spicy peanut butter and beet green sauerkraut sandwich. And this is a segment that I call Midweek Toast, or what the heck am I putting on toast? Because I have a weird flavor palette. Well, to me, it's not weird. I think I have a great flavor palette. But for other people, it might seem weird. So I have a lot of weird concoctions that I thought I could share with you. This one is peanut butter, and then I add this peanut chutney that I made. I think it's called shengdana or something like that, but there are different names for it depending on the region. But it's basically just a peanut powder with spices in it. Lots of peanut. Death Duck, I love peanuts. Okay, I love peanuts. But yes, I think it's just red chilies, garlic, and cumin, but there might be other ones that I'm forgetting. And then I add it's in this crock, my beet green sauerkraut. No human. I don't add human to it. I add my beet green sauerkraut. Okay, I don't know if do ducks eat humans? I don't think so. Ducks don't eat humans. Yeah, I don't eat humans either. So this is what the sauerkraut looks like. Let's see if you can see it. It's very messy, as you can see. So I'll put it back. But it's basically just made like you would make a sauerkraut, but with beet greens instead of cabbage. I highly recommend trying it. If you like beets and you're throwing out the beet greens, don't throw out the beet greens, okay? They're edible, they're good for you, and They're delicious. Although I had trouble with them for a while. I would always try to make them. I'd make like beet green trip. Oh yeah, I said cumin. I'm sorry. Now I know what you mean. Yeah, that duck thought I said human. I was making them chips or sautéing them. I didn't like them raw really, but once I decided to try making it into a sauerkraut, game over. Game over. It's delicious. This is how I usually make them now. The only time I don't make them like this is if I have too many of them and it doesn't fit all the way in the crock, so then I have to use some of them for something else. But yes, beet greens, I would ferment them. Do not throw out your beet greens. Death Duck said, I missed the bagels, didn't I? Did you fall asleep? Last week you said you were staying up waiting for the bagels. That's good, Death Duck. Get some sleep. Get some sleep. Death Duck, you said you've been sick? Are you feeling better? Death Duck said he caught something from a diseased goose. Sounds likely. Those geese are pretty diseased. Although I like geese, personally. I think they're very cute. I like when they take baths in puddles. And they do it in groups, so they all line up to take a bath in the puddle. As long as they don't have their babies with them, they don't bother you. Just don't approach a goose with a baby. That's a bad time. Don't try. That duck has a picture of screaming ducks, I'm assuming. They look like ducklings. So, Death Duck, have you ever tried to approach a goose with its babies? A mother goose? That might be why you don't like geese. Death Duck said, I stay away from geese always, but they chase sometimes. Yeah, Death Duck, yeah. I feel like they only chase when they have their babies with them. Otherwise, they're usually pretty much leave you alone. That's my experience anyway. If they have their babies with them, they'll hiss at you too. So don't get close to them. Yeah. I was saying earlier, um, today I have work today. Well, I had work today. And I work 8 to 12 today, which is why I'm able to do a little eating show for you. And this morning, everyone, all the students, or at least more than half of the students, were on their phones while the professor was speaking. And you know how I feel about that, Death Duck. And even last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, Death Duck said, what? Yes, these are adults too, Death Duck. I mean, I think they're younger. On their how? So like the professor's up here talking in the front. I'm in the back of the room watching them and chiming in when I'm needed. And then the students are sitting, they're sitting and they have a table like this and they're sitting on their phones. Like really out in the open too. Like I'm sure the professor could see it, but I guess he didn't want to say anything. because they're adults, and I guess he sees it as they're wasting their money, but it's so rude. It's so rude. And I said like 2 weeks ago, um, Death Duck says, I think that they should just be asked to leave. Yeah, I mean, because even one young woman had her headphones on, but like big headphones. They were obvious. You could see that she had them on. It's like, what? But 2 weeks ago, I had a student, and I tell the story already a few times, but I'll tell it to you again, Death Duck. Um, so this kid was watching anime in class. We were in the lab, the writing lab, and they're supposed to be writing, right? They're supposed to be writing, and he's watching anime. And so the professor's in the front. She can't see it because the computers aren't facing her. But I'm in the back, so I can see what the students are doing. So this kid, he's watching anime. I go stand next to him, so he sees my presence, right? And he knows that I know that he's watching anime and not writing. And then so he turns off his anime, right? And I'm like, okay. So then I go back to the back of the room. And when I go back to the back, he turns it back on. He starts watching anime again. Like I obviously could see you before because that's why I walked next to you. So, but I don't know. Maybe he thought I couldn't see him from the back. I don't know. But yeah, and this is college, so they're paying for it. Death Duck. And anyone else here in the chat, feel free to chime in. But yeah, they're paying for this. So that might explain why a little bit why Death Duck, that I have strong feelings about our technology use. Yeah, Death Duck said he's thinking, "Phew, that was close." Yeah, that was close. She almost caught me. But no, I saw him, so I keep my eye on him now. He's always playing music too. I have to tell him to turn down his music. He shouldn't be using it at all. I'm not the professor, so I don't reprimand anyone. But in that class in particular, I'm a little bit more hands-on than I usually am because it's just a little out of control. Death Duck says, I suppose that is also why the professor doesn't care. Maybe they're thinking, hey, it's their money. If they want to waste it, then yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do? But at the same time, it's really sad. So that might explain why I have such hard stances on technology use. I'm like, no, don't use it. Pay attention. So yeah, that was my day, sort of. I mean, my day was a good day, but that was something that happened today. How was your day? Did you work today? Detzak said he didn't work today because he's sick. Still sick, too much coughing. Okay. Well, I hope you feel better. That's a shame. That is a shame. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a software engineer or something like that? I feel like you worked in technology. You have some sort of goose tuberculosis. Yeah, it was those darn geese making you sick. Arshad24, welcome to the chat, Arshad24. Hello, he said, you're from which country? Arshad, let me know if that's your name, Arshad, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm from the United States. Right now, not right now, but I'm from New Jersey. And right now I'm streaming from New Jersey. Where are you from, Arshad? India. Oh, nice. Nice. India. Death Duck said, I have worked in tech, but mostly psych nursing these days. Oh, psych nursing. Okay. Maybe it was the other chatter that day, Dean Marshall, who worked in tech. Arshad said the pot to the left side has a very cool design. Yeah, Arshad, this is my I'll move this because I'm done eating. This is my fermentation crock. I don't think they ship to India, but it is made in Poland. But the company I believe is based in the United States. But I'm sure they make things like this in India too for fermenting vegetables. This one I have in here beet greens. So it's like kind of like a sauerkraut. I'll show you again. It's kind of like a sauerkraut. It gets a little softer than a sauerkraut, but it's really good. So yeah, this pot is really cool. I really like this pot too. I have two of these actually. This one has beet greens in it, and the other one has cranberries in it. Which Arshad, they're a little bit like gooseberries. I believe you have gooseberries in India. Cranberries are kind of like that, but not exactly. Arshad, what kind of sandwiches do you like to eat? Arshad asked your favorite Indian food dishes. Very good question, Arshad. So like restaurant style dishes. So Arshad says French toast. Ooh, French toast. Oh, I can talk about Arshad, do you make bread pakora? Or have you had that? I might be pronouncing it wrong. Pakora. Pakora. That's how an American might pronounce it, but it might be differently pronounced. I make that sometimes just with my sourdough bread, and I dip it in the chickpea batter, and I just pan fry it like this, and it's really good. Yeah, Asha said, yeah, bread pakora I had. It's very nice. So yeah, I like that. I like bread pakora. But like restaurant style dishes, I definitely like the or samosa. Yeah, samosa is good. The eggplant dish. Oh, I said it the other day. The eggplant dish that is basically mashed up eggplant and it's smoky. You know which eggplant dish I'm talking about? It's a restaurant style type dish. And I said it the other day. It's kind of similar to baba ganoush, but it's not baba ganoush. It's spicier than baba ganoush. Yes, Ashad, it is bangan bharta. I like bangan bharta from the restaurant, like a North Indian restaurant. But then we were actually talking earlier, and I was telling Death Duck that he has to go to a South Indian restaurant. That because my favorite thing is actually probably dosas. And when I was Arshad, I was actually in Sri Lanka 2 months ago, just visiting, and we had great dosas. And I had this dosa that had like a tomato chutney on the inside. I think it was called a Kara dosa, Khara. Had a tomato chutney on the inside, and then onions and cilantro. And that was it, but it was delicious. It was so good. And Arshad says you should try Hyderabadi chicken dum biryani. Okay, that sounds interesting. I don't think I've ever had that. How is that different from maybe other styles of cooking? Is it like a different spice mix? Hyderabadi chicken. Um, this is also I'm a vegan, so I could make it with like tofu or something like that. But I don't think I've ever had that Hyderabadi chicken dum biryani. Arshad, what part of India are you from? Yes, different spices. I'll have to look into it. What part of Indian are you from Arshad? South India. Okay. Yeah, so then you're used to dosas. Death Duck said, I've never tried to make sauerkraut before, but as you explained your fermentation jar, I looked up how to make it. Time for an experiment this week, if I can find a good container. Death Duck and anyone else in the chat, you can use a mason jar if you have a mason jar. Just has to have like a lid. And then you don't need it, but I use a fermentation weight to keep the, in your case, cabbage down so it doesn't float to the top. That's just to avoid mold. But I've made it without the fermentation weights before because when I first started fermenting foods, I didn't have one. So, and I didn't get mold. So it's okay. But the weight is the best. But yeah, it's really easy. So you should try. Yeah, try making your own sauerkraut, that duck. It's really easy. Excellent, said Death Duck. Arsha said, also the latest famous sweet dish in India is actually an Arabic dessert named kunufa. Kunafa. Is that the one that's kind of like shreddy? That's kind of like is it like fried dough? Like a donut, but it's like shredded? Like in America we might call that a funnel cake. Am I thinking of the right one? Kunafa. Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah, I've never had that, but I've seen it before. Where I am actually, Arshad, there's actually a lot of Indian immigrants where I live. Not in my town, but in the town where I work in, which is the next town over. There's a lot of Indian immigrants where I live and where I work. So yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with these things. I might have seen them in the shops, but I've never had that one. You know what one of my favorite things is actually Arshad, and you might be interested in this. I love Indian pickles. I love Indian pickles. Well, I love pickles in general. As you can tell, I pickle things all the time. But I love Indian pickles. And I made a chari masala peanut butter. So I just took the Indian pickle spice and I put it in the peanut butter and mixed it in. I made my own spice. Arshad says shawarma. Shawarma is Middle Eastern. I've had vegan versions of it. I don't think I've had the real version, but that's okay. I've had vegan versions of it. But I think I used for like a standard jar, maybe 2 cups of peanut butter, like 2 tablespoons of achari masala, and I mix that in. So if you like pickles, I suggest that. I suggest that to you too, Death Duck, but I don't know if you have achari masala like in your in your grasp, so it might be harder for you, but Arshad, you might have it. So I suggest that. Yeah. Yeah, Arshad, do you like Middle Eastern food a lot? You like shawarma and falafel? Arshad says, I like eating pickles with rice and rasam. That sounds good. Yeah, pickles are just good in general. I like most pickles. The Indian pickles are definitely something else. Very flavorful compared to pickles we have here. Well, I guess the pickles we're used to here. I do have Indian pickles here. I can get them. They even sell them at now at the ShopRite, which is like a regular grocery store here. They sell the Indian pickles. So that's how you know. That's how you know what's up. That's how you know they're popular. Death Duck, have you ever had Indian pickles? Death Duck says, falafel, gyros, shawarma, tahini, all good. Yeah. Yeah, that's Middle Eastern food is really, really good. I made this week. Well, actually yesterday. The week goes by so fast. I don't know what day it is. Arshad says in South India the chutneys are incredible with idlis, dosas, and puris. Yes, that's what I was saying. Death Duck says no, I am basic when it comes to pickles. Pretty much just dill. Gotta expand your palate. I mean, dill pickles are delicious, but you have to expand your palate. Yeah, so Arshad is explaining, probably he knows way more than I do about this. I was telling Death Duck earlier that he has to go to a South Indian restaurant because I was explaining to him like the dosas and like it comes with all the chutneys and it comes with soup and it comes with everything, right? And North Indian food is also really good, but if you find a South Indian restaurant, that's where you're gonna get that platter that Arshad is talking about, where you get just a bunch of incredible food. It's almost hard to finish it all. It's so good. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying before, but I guess it wasn't that important. Oh yes, yesterday I made a. It's very similar to a falafel pita, but it's starting to get sunny again. So it's very similar to a falafel pita, but it's made with fried eggplant. It's called sabich, and it's popular in Israel and other places in the Middle East. But it's like, it's fried eggplant, tahini sauce, a salad, and it has a special pickled green mango sauce that actually probably originates in India, but from my understanding was brought over to Israel from Iraqi Jews. So um, they use a that pickled mango sauce called amba, and then of course the fried eggplant, like I said. So I made that yesterday. My husband's obsessed with it. He says it's takeout quality. So I'll have to probably post about that too. But yeah, it was really good. So Arshad says in North India the food is mainly parathas, rajma, chawal, lassi. Yeah, which are also good, right? Which are also good for if death duck. If you don't know what that is, correct me if I'm wrong, Arshad. But parathas are like a flatbread, usually stuffed with something. Rajma is rajma chawal. That's a bean dish. Um, Usually red kidney beans, I believe, and lassi is like a yogurt drink. And Arsh says, need one suggestion. Any recipe that can be prepared and stored for late night snacks that is very healthy. Oh, what do I make and store for late night snacks? That is very healthy. Very healthy. What kind of snacks? Yes, I want to avoid eating oil fried potato chips. Yeah, you shouldn't be eating oil fried potato chips. You can make like I'm the peanut queen. So you can make roasted peanuts or something like that. That would be like a really healthy snack. Um you could make do you like you said you like potato chips, so you like salty foods, right? Because maybe like I don't know. Death Duck says baked sweet potato slices. That's what I was thinking too. Maybe if you could just make a baked potato chips or potato wedges. Yeah, Arshad, do you like salty food? If you can make baked potatoes, because sometimes I just make Arshad. If you have sweet potatoes, those are really good. Regular potatoes are good too, but sweet potatoes are really good. And um, you can bake them like in wedges. And sometimes I just do that as a snack. I'll just bake a bunch of potatoes. You can add a little bit of oil or like no oil. I've added no oil and it's fine. It's literally just make sure it's on a non-stick surface and it's fine. I can eat them plain. So it really depends on your flavor palette, really, because I can eat a lot of things plain. So the sweet potatoes and potatoes, you can just bake those. If you want like maybe salted nuts would be probably be healthier than potato chips, and it would have that fattiness that you're probably craving too. Um, you can make like little tea sandwiches. But that's a good question. I could whip up maybe some recipes that I use sometimes. Um, because I'm trying to think of what I snack on. I do snack. I snack a lot on fruits, but that's not really a recipe. I do sometimes snack on like I you can bake like cabbage wedges and salt and pepper them. Now this might be getting too healthy for you. I'm not sure, but if you salt and pepper cabbage wedges and bake them, they taste really good. It's very very good. It gets like caramelized on the top, and it's really good. You can also make. Speaking of cabbage, you can take other greens and do similar things with them. Like you can make kale chips. They're crunchy, kind of like potato chips. You do need oil for them, but you could like lower the oil. If you don't use oil, I don't think I think it might burn or something. I've never tried it without oil. But yeah, just lightly oil them, put spices that you want on it, and bake them. You can look up recipes for kale chips online. If you don't have kale, you can use another green, just a sturdy green. And then it's kind of like potato chips. That's a good substitute, I think. If you're missing the crunchiness of potato chips, you can try something like kale chips. Yeah, yeah. Because I haven't eaten potato chips in a long time. And like I said, when I snack, I usually snack on fruit. Arshad says, "Does eating wheat rotis every day cause weight gain? Is it a false fact?" Well, Arshad, I eat bread every day. Arshad, welcome to the bread channel, because this channel it's a baking channel. So today I'm just doing a chat, but usually I'll be baking. This Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, United States Eastern Time, I will be baking sourdough bread, this week's sandwich bread. But I eat bread every day, and I am not overweight, so I'm very small, actually. Thank you, Arshad, for following. Um, so unless you have a gluten intolerance, I think it's fine to eat rotis every day. Just as long, it's all about managing your caloric intake. Really, that's the simple math of it. If you overeat, Death Duck says I have a goose intolerance. We know, Death Duck, that you don't like goose. But if you overeat bread, you will gain weight, right? But if you eat bread in a moderate amount, like, let me think we can do a mini what I ate today. Today, this morning, this was lunch. So that was this morning. I had 2 mini bagels, and one had vegan cream cheese and lox on it, and the other one had peanut butter and some toppings. Like, I put hot sauce and Arsha, get used to my weird toast concoctions, but you might actually like them. I put hot sauce and parsley on. So I had 2 bagels, 2 mini bagels. And then for lunch, so that's already 2 servings of bread, right? And then 2 more servings of bread because I had this toast that I made for lunch. So that's already 4 servings of bread. And that's pretty normal for me. I make sure that when I stuff my bread, I put lots of veggies in it, and I eat veggies on the side. Like, I also ate cabbage today. I made a big bowl of like lightly sautéed cabbage, and it was really good. So I always make sure I have veggies, and luckily I eat peanut butter for protein, but usually also have maybe beans or something else for extra protein. And I maintain my weight. So my long short answer is no. Eating bread every day will not cause weight gain as long as you fit it into a healthy diet and don't overeat. So yeah. And even when I was in Sri Lanka, which I was there for 2 weeks, but I definitely eat roti every day, Arshad, or hoppers. I don't know if you've been to Sri Lanka or eaten Sri Lankan food, but hoppers are really good. It's almost like dosa, but it's a little fluffier in the middle, and it's shaped like a bowl. I eat those every day too. And I actually lost a few pounds when I was in Sri Lanka, probably because of how active I was. But I was eating bread every day. So I don't think you have to worry about eating roti every day. But yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. Asking the bread queen if it's unhealthy to eat bread. But yeah, Arshad, so what's your favorite thing to put on roti? I was saying before how in Sri Lanka they put a lot of things on the roti, but one of the best things was this onion relish that was essentially caramelized onions and caramelized onions and spices like I believe cinnamon and cardamom, and then you put tamarind in it too. So it's like sour and sweet and spicy. And they put that in the roti, and that was delicious. And Arshad said roti and butter chicken and roti and palak paneer. Well, those are classics. Those are classics that you can get those here too pretty easily. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. I do like palak paneer. They make it here. If you go to some restaurants, they'll make it here. Instead of paneer, they'll use tofu. I don't know if they do that anywhere in South India, but that'll be, yes, that's a spinach one. That's a spinach one, yeah. Um, it's spinach and the paneer is cheese, but it's almost like cottage cheese, but the curds are big, so it's like cubes, and it looks like tofu. So some restaurants here, they'll offer to put tofu instead of the paneer. You got seconds of that? Yeah, it's really good. And I've had that before, and that's really good. Yeah, I really like that. So yeah, those are all both good options. Maybe we can do some roti here. I've made before. It's it's I don't know if it's a roti or tortilla. I feel like those two things are just very similar. They're almost the same. But I've been making for my husband some avocado flatbreads. Yeah, Arshad. So to answer your question, you asked you stream from your bakery. So um, I run a cottage bakery, so I'm not streaming from a an actual bakery. What a cottage bakery is that in the U.S. they call it cottage industry. That means from home. So I do it from home. So it's not a full scale bakery. It's a small bakery. Um, Hold on, I have to plug in my computer again. But it's a small bakery, and so you're only going to see what you see right here. And Death Duck knows he saw me last week. You're going to see this, but I'm going to be showing you how to make the bread. So unfortunately, you won't see the inner workings of a bakery. That would be really cool, but no, I'm going to be streaming from home. But that is also my bakery, is my home, so it's kind of like streaming from a bakery. Arshad says you also make cakes. I mostly make bread. I make some not I don't decorate cakes if that's what you're asking. I don't make those big decorated cakes. But for example, last week I made banana bread, which is basically a cake. It's basically cake. So yeah, I don't make those big decorated cakes like wedding cakes and birthday cakes, but I do make sweets like banana bread, pumpkin bread, um, cookies, things like that. I can make. Yeah, my specialty is the sourdough, which is a fermented dough, which takes a little longer to make, but is well worth it for the flavor, and it has health benefits. If you're interested in making sourdough, there is a link on my Twitch channel for my blog, which is just jerseygirlbreadshop.com, and I have information about how to start your first sourdough starter if you're interested in making sourdough. Arshad says, "Have you made tandoori naan?" I make a flatbread that I actually made some yesterday. That is quite similar to a naan. I don't have a tandoor oven, as most people probably don't, especially in the U.S. But I make it on the stove like this. So I make a bread that is very similar. They can make on the stove, and it is delicious. And as long as you get this really hot, you'll get some of the black marks that you like. Yeah, I just call it a flatbread because I feel like it's very interchangeable, and I don't put yogurt in it because I'm a vegan, and I don't even put. I used to try to put like vegan yogurt in it to make it more like a naan, but you don't need it for this recipe. You really don't. It's delicious, and it lasts a little longer without the added yogurt or dairy products in it. Um, but yes. So this is and the flatbread that I make is also with sourdough. So every recipe, if most recipes, if not every recipe, will be made with sourdough. But I'll show you how to incorporate it different ways, and um, yeah, and how to make beautiful sourdough loaves. If you look on my website again, you'll see like some of the sourdough loaves that I make. That's really like the heart. It's the core is the sourdough loaves, but the other baked goods are also great. Like you'll also see if you go on my website the zucchini bread that I make, which is a zucchini's a squash. It's a green squash. I'm sure you have that in India, but it's probably not called zucchini. And you can put that in the bread. Arshad asks, is microwaving food healthy or unhealthy? If unhealthy, does warming the food on the stove is recommended? Good question, Arshad. I don't see a problem with microwaving food. Um, I'm not an expert on health, but in my opinion, you can microwave food. Um, I guess it depends on what you're making. For example, I wouldn't put pizza in the microwave because it would change the texture. I would probably put that in the toaster oven or on the stove. Um, but if you're just microwaving a small portion for yourself, it's probably easier to, heating up a small portion for yourself. It's probably easier to put it in the microwave, especially if it's a something wet like a soup or something. So I think that's up to your discretion, Arshad. But I use the microwave, not all the time, but especially when heating up small portions of things. Like I'm making a bowl of soup just for me, or heating up a curry that's just an amount for me. But use your discretion. One thing I wouldn't put in the microwave is pizza. Deck says microwaving is not dangerous at all with regards to radiation. It is difficult to heat food evenly at times, and so it becomes better to overcook, which, as Bread Queen mentioned, will affect the taste, texture, or fluid balance. Yes, the Bread Queen did mention that it might affect the taste of the food. Yeah. But yeah, I microwave. I use my microwave. If you feel uncomfortable using your microwave, don't. But I don't think there's a problem with it. It was cloudy before, so I thought it was okay, but the sun is coming out now, which is nice. We always like a nice sunny day. Okay. And my neighbors are also out if you can hear them, but you're getting the full experience if you can hear them, because then it feels like you're really in New Jersey. Otherwise, you wouldn't get the full experience of hearing all my neighbors with their Jersey accents talking outside. So yeah, we got people here from all over the world, huh? That's up. Nope. I cranked up the volume, can't hear a thing. Oh well. Maybe next time. Maybe next time you'll hear some Jersey accents. But yeah, I'm from New Jersey, which is on the East Coast. We have Deck Duck is from California, and Arshad is from India. Arshad asks your favorite TV series to watch. This is a good question because I don't like TV. This is a great question. Arshad. I have weird TV tastes too. They might be a little controversial, right? They might be a little controversial. Um, I recently I've been watching Adventure Time, which is, well, I'll say it's a kids show, although I don't think it's really marketed to kids. I think it's marketed to like maybe teenagers and adults. But it's an American cartoon. I also like shows like The Office and Parks and Rec. Those types of shows are good, and like Broad City, that show. It's not on anymore. None of these shows are on anymore, but that one's good. Except for there's one show that I like that's still on, but I don't. Again, when I say I like a show, it doesn't mean I've seen every episode. Arshad says Young Sheldon. That Duck, you can tell us your favorite TV show. Arshad, I don't like The Big Bang Theory. I'm assuming that's from The Big Bang Theory. I don't like The Big Bang Theory. Like I said, I have controversial tastes. I think The Big Bang Theory is corny. But another TV show that's still on, and like I said, I don't really watch the new episodes. But the old episodes. Meow, thank you, Meow Delicio, for following. You can introduce yourself in the chat if you feel so inclined to introduce yourself in the chat. Death Duck says Ted Lasso. I've never seen that show, but my husband likes it, so maybe it's good. I believe you that it's good. I'll have to ask him, but he likes it, so I believe you. But the one show that I watch that's still on the air is South Park. I don't watch new episodes, but that's probably the most controversial one that I'll say I do like it. And especially like, I don't know if any of you are well, I think some of you are around my age or older. So you probably remember Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh. Everyone's done eating, I hope, because I just mentioned Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh. And the other day, maybe not the other day, maybe a few months ago, Death Duck is swirling. Yeah, Arshad, Simpsons predicts the future, and so does South Park, I would say. South Park also predicts the future. A lot of things in South Park that they make fun of end up maybe repeating themselves or happening again, but worse. But yeah, South Park predicts a lot of cultural events, I think. I think it's more just having an eye on what's happening in the cultures and in the media and in politics and all of that. But Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh was a poo, and I mean like human excrement that greeted all children on Christmas if they ate enough fiber on Christmas Eve. If they ate enough fiber on Christmas Eve, they would be greeted by Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh. And the other month, I was singing Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh, because that's a song from South Park. And my husband was like, what are you singing? What's wrong with you? Right? Because he didn't know that song. So, I mean, I'm like an encyclopedia of South Park episodes, except, I mean, just the old ones. The newer ones I don't know. But the old ones, I like know all those episodes. Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh. Yeah, Death Duck must know that song because he thinks it's funny. Yeah, Arshad, I do have blue eyes. Yeah. But yeah. That's probably the most controversial show that I like, but it's a goodie. It's a classic, really. I mean, I think people who don't like it just pretend that they're too cool for it, or that they're too PC for it or something, but we all know it's good. Death Duck says that's how I am about The Simpsons. I know all the old stuff, but don't follow as much these days. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with things like TV shows, I feel, which is why I don't usually keep up with them. Sometimes my husband and I will watch an episode of something before we go to sleep, but I can't keep up with TV shows, honestly. Arshad says a Marvel or DC fan. So my husband likes Marvel movies a lot, but I don't watch them, so I can't say. I have seen, I think my favorite superhero movie, or at least out of the ones I can remember, is the Wonder Woman movie, which was a DC movie that came out a long time ago. I remember being pretty surprised by it because I didn't know much about Wonder Woman and I thought I wasn't going to like it, and then I did like it. So yeah, that one I liked, and I think that's a DC movie. But I'm really just not into superheroes, so I'm probably not the best person to ask, but my husband does like Marvel, so I can tell you that much. And I did like that Wonder Woman movie that I saw. Arshad says new Deadpool Wolverine movie coming this year. You can suggest this movie to your husband. I will. I'll suggest it. Wait, is Deadpool the one that's like he's a jokester? Because I think I've seen that too, and that was okay, I think. Death Duck says Mrs. Duck and I really like shows like Ted Lasso and have a planned ending. It's only 3 seasons of 10 to 12 episodes each, and it's not as much about soccer as it makes one think. Yes, Death Duck. I agree with you so much because I have a take on this. I think that shows should end after season 6 or 7, maybe 7, and we can push it to 7, right? But after that, it starts. I've never seen a show after that do like better than it did previously. It's never like, oh, season 8 is the best season. Season 8's never the best season, okay? Never. Just find a way to end it. So yeah, I like that I might have to watch that Ted Lasso thing now because I think my husband likes that, and I do like when TV series have an ending planned because then it's like more it's more well written. Death Duck said it should be illegal to cancel a television season without giving the writers a full year's notice to end their show. Yeah, that's true. I mean, Death Duck, sure, but Death Duck, if it's already planned that it's gonna end after season 6 or 7, then that's it. Done. And Arshad said in Ted Lasso, the main character plays role of soccer coach, but actually he doesn't know soccer game. Yes, yes. I think I have probably seen this before. That does sound familiar. That does sound familiar. So I might have to watch that. That sounds funny. We always love a good chuckle. But yeah, TV shows, Marvel, I don't know. Yeah, Death Duck, are you a Marvel or superhero fan? I never really was a superhero fan. Death Duck says Scrubs is watchable through 8 of their 9 seasons, but I admit they had a dud season in there as well. I think 6 or 7. I used to watch Scrubs when I was younger. I remember thinking it was funny. I couldn't tell you which season is which though. I'm not that familiar with Scrubs, but I believe you because most seasons that last that long have duds because it just takes so long, right? They run out of things. They didn't plan everything out. So what bothers me too is when sometimes shows don't plan stuff out, which they how can they, right? If they're going to go on for 10 seasons, and it's like sometimes there are things in the later seasons that might kind of contradict the earlier seasons or don't really like make sense. Um, I am I think for example, here's a show that I like, although I haven't seen all seasons. I've seen up until season 6, definitely. But in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's a great show. Definitely at least up to season 6. But one of the main characters, Mac, I didn't even see this season, so I don't know how they wrote it in. But one of the main characters, Mac, they like made him reveal that he was gay, like in season, I don't know, maybe 10 or something, like later. And I didn't see this, so maybe they wrote it in great. But I always thought that was weird because in the earlier seasons, he's obviously attracted to women, unless they're trying to make it out to seem that, he was pretending or something. But like in the earlier seasons, he dates women and he's attracted to women, and it doesn't seem to make sense. There is a subplot where he like is dating a trans woman, but it's not quite like that. He's just gay, right? It's so weird. Death Duck says, I would say I lean toward Marvel over DC, except I used to be a big Batman fan as a kid. That's right, Batman is Marvel, and Batman is pretty good. The movies are pretty good. I'm also not much into superheroes, says Death Duck. Definitely reached point of saturation over the past 10 years. And yeah, I agree that I was never into superheroes, but it's almost kind of annoying, right? Like the Marvel stuff, I almost find it annoying now, and I feel like some superhero fans are bored of it as well. So we'll see what happens with Marvel. I'm not sure. Death Duck says that's wild. I wonder if they pivoted or something to a more mainstream love interest. Yeah, I'm not sure. Death Duck, why they would do that other than either it's a joke or it's like trying to for clout, because the beginning of the show, like the first 6 seasons at least, are not PC. I don't know if you've ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's a pretty raunchy show, so it's kind of weird if they would try to like pivot to like have a gay character for like some kind of clout, some diversity clout. It really wouldn't make sense to me for the show. Maybe it's just a big joke, but I always thought that was weird. I'm like, so now he's gay even though he was dating women from seasons like 1 through 9. What? So I just don't like it. Always bothers me if a show goes on too long and then it writes something in that doesn't really match what was in the beginning. So then I'm like, now I'm just annoyed. Now I can't watch it anymore. And Arshad said best superhero supermarket in New Jersey to buy Indian groceries. I buy Indian groceries at D-Mart. If you're ever in New Jersey and you want Indian groceries, I should be sponsored by D-Mart. Buy your Indian groceries at D-Mart. There's a lot of grocery stores here, though, Indian grocery stores here. But yeah, I usually go to D-Mart. And Death Duck says, now the MCU is doing a lot of, okay, now imagine if everything you know about superheroes was different. What if they were bad guys? Or what if Hitler won World War II? Or what if, yeah, Death Duck, isn't there like parallel universes now? I'm laughing because I do think that's funny. Like there's there's like different universes. In every universe there's like another type of superhero. And Death Duck says I can't take it. It's like there's 5 Spider-Mans or something. That's that just sounds like bad writing to me. If you ask me, that just sounds like bad. It sounds like you ran out of ideas and you're just like, wow, well, what if there's 2 Spider-Men? Death Duck says, I want to say, what if you came up with a good story in the same universe? Wouldn't that be great? What if you just came up with a good story? That would be fantastic. What if there's 5 Batman? Oh, I guess Batman is in DC, but we can add him to Marvel. Marvel can buy the rights to him, and then there'll be another universe. Death Duck says, as soon as something goes time travel or multiple universes, they've given up as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I guess unless it's a joke, I would say yes. Yes. They have given up. Arshad says, you should watch Inception movie. It's like a dream within dream within dream. Yeah, I've seen Inception. Inception was really popular when it came out. Oh, geez. Did it come out like 20 years ago? I feel like it came out almost 20, maybe 15 years ago. I remember it was really popular when it came out. Everyone was like, whoa, man. A dream within a dream. But yeah, I've seen Inception. Inception is good. That kind of reminds me of another show that, because you mentioned time travel. Another show that's pretty good, and it's written by the same guy who writes, or at least created by the same guy who created The Simpsons, Futurama. I really liked Futurama. I don't know about the new episodes. I know they have new episodes coming out, but I haven't seen them. But the old episodes I know I really liked when they were out. And Arshad says Interstellar. I think that's a movie. I've never seen that movie, so I'll have to look into it. I believe it won awards, though, if I'm remembering correctly. And Death Duck says Futurama is so amazing. Yes. And the main character, Fry, his name is, I think that's his last name in the movie, or not the movie, the show. He's from New Jersey. So and in the future, they go to New Jersey instead of New Jersey. It's New Jersey. Death Duck says also Futurama is a favorite of Mrs. Duck. She's watched it more than me, and I'm the sci-fi nerd. Futurama is just good. I'm not a sci-fi nerd, but Futurama is good. Arshad asks, you are a fan of dance reality shows? Bless you, Munchkin. No. I try to stay away from reality shows because I feel like they can be addicting. But dance shows, I don't think I've ever watched. The only reality show that, as an adult, I watched, and I think it's addicting, because it's mostly fake, but it's very funny and fun to imitate them and stuff. Is 90 Day Fiance. 90 Day Fiance, where they these lonely people, both men and women, meet some weirdo online who's trying to scam them out of money, and they get engaged, and then they have 90 days to get married once their fiance comes to the US. I used to watch that a lot, but I try to stay away from it because I think it's a little addicting and it's not it's not productive, I guess, because it's not even real. And as fun as it is, it's kind of just nonsense. Arshad said, "I heard there is a show by this name, Jersey Shore." Death Duck says, "I never heard of that 90-day one." Oh yeah, it's hilarious though. It's hilarious because these people, they come over and like I said, this might be half real, might be like there really is something there, but a lot of it is planned, right? What they're gonna say might be planned or something like that. But these people come over, like these women from like say Russia, come over and like demand that the husband to be makes like six or figures or maybe more, and ask for like a $100,000 dress and things like that. And all of these shenanigans go on with this. Sometimes they have maybe if a man comes over for a woman, sometimes they have other girlfriends back in the Dominican Republic or something, like stuff like that's going on. But yes, Arshad, I didn't watch the show, but there is a show called Jersey Shore. It was very popular, not just here, but like in all of the U.S. It was very popular. Zalo said, Zalo is my husband, by the way. Zalo said Jersey Shore is about the beautiful beaches of New Jersey. Not exactly, but they did film it where, just fun fact, they did film the Jersey Shore in Seaside Heights, which is where I used to go to the beach in the summer with my family. So in New Jersey, we call going to the beach going down the shore, which is why it's called the Jersey Shore. And Death Duck says, "I love a good nature documentary." Arshad says, "Hello Zalo, have you watched new Deadpool Wolverine movie trailer?" Yes, ask him about the Marvel movies. I'm sure he has a lot to say about them. But yeah, so it is filmed where I used to go to down the shore, and when I was a teenager, I went when they were filming, not on purpose, but we happened to be going one weekend, and when we got there, we realized they were filming, and they had all the cameras out, and we didn't say anything to these people, but we did see them, the I'll call them actors, the reality stars. I don't know. We saw them there. So yeah, it does take place in New Jersey, and I guess it's about Jim Tan laundry, I think. Zalo says he's excited for the Marvel universe to restart. So that's good. That's good that you're excited for that. So back to the important Jersey Shore. It's about Jim Tan laundry, which to my understanding is the cycle that you do when you go down the shore. I never did this, but this is what some people might do, where they go to the gym, they go tanning, and then they do laundry. And I guess they get drunk at night and they repeat. I think that's what they do. But the thing is about the Jersey Shore that made a lot of New Jerseyans kind of angry was it kind of built a bad reputation for New Jerseyans. We already have a bad reputation, right? We didn't need this reality show to give us a worse reputation. We have a reputation of being loud. We have a reputation of like yelling used guys. We have a reputation of being rude. Like we didn't need this Jersey Shore to give us a worse reputation. But most of the people, I think only one of the stars from Jersey Shore was from New Jersey. Most of them, I believe, are from Staten Island, which actually I'm very close to Staten Island right now. I'm like across the bridge from Staten Island, so it is close to New Jersey, but it's technically in New York. It's in New York City. But it is like where I am now, it's across the bridge. So we're very close to Staten Island. But this made a lot of New Jerseyans very angry because they didn't want to be associated with these I'll teach you slang, Arshad. Death Duck, you probably know this one already, but if you don't, I'm teaching you too. Arshad said, "I think friendly neighborhood crocodiles are more in Florida compared to New Jersey." Yeah, there's actually no crocodiles in the U.S., but there's alligators in Florida. There's no alligators in New Jersey. Yeah, there's no alligators in New Jersey. Death Duck says, yeah, I was going to say the New Jersey reputation is pretty universal already. I know that it's exaggerated, but we Americans seem to love to tease each other over such generalizations. Yeah, we do. I mean, I don't really mind it, honestly. I'm pretty easygoing person, so I don't care really that much. But New Jerseyans did not like the Jersey Shore. They gave us a bad rep. Gave us a bad rep. Um, Even like overseas, like they knew the Jersey Shore. Like when I went to France when I was a teenager, I was probably around 18, and this is when the Jersey Shore was really popular. They all knew all the French people all knew the Jersey Shore. They all knew about it. And actually, speaking of France, so I studied abroad in France when I was in college. So and I had a roommate, and my roommate was from Florida. Arshad, that's where they have alligators. They don't have alligators here, but they have alligators in Florida. And my program, it was all American. All the students were American, but they were from everywhere. Like there's a lot of students that were from Texas and Florida. There was one other person from New Jersey, but most of them were from the South actually. So I was roommates with this girl from Florida, and I heard her talking to her mom on the phone. Arshad, I'll answer your question in 1 minute. But I heard her talking to her mom, I believe, on the phone, and she was like, "Yeah, she has an accent, but she's so quiet and soft spoken. So basically." Like the stereotype, Arshad, you don't know about this probably because you have probably your own stereotypes in India, but Death Duck, you know about this. The stereotype of New Jerseyans is that they're loud and obnoxious and all these other things, and they curse a lot, right? And I guess I didn't fit her stereotype because I was more soft spoken, and maybe I had manners. Death Duck says she's not as loud as she's supposed to be. She doesn't yell at all. Exactly. I didn't really yell at all. Like me talking right now is probably the loudest I ever get. Like me projecting my voice right now. So, so basically she was amazed because she could distinguish my Jersey accent, which you may or may not be able to distinguish. Death Duck, there are some words that I say that maybe you can pick out that I have a Jersey accent, but she could hear my Jersey accent. But the fact that I was soft spoken with a Jersey accent kind of tricked her. She's not used to that. But yeah, New Jerseyans are all different from one another. They're all individuals, and some of us are loud and some of us aren't. Just like anywhere else. But yeah, Arshad asks, weird food combinations with bread that is not recommended. I feel like this is a weird question for me because I love to eat weird food combinations. I can't think of one that I would just like not do. I'm trying to think of something that's just disgusting. It would have to be so gross. Yes, Munchkin. I don't know. Does anyone else have any weird ones? Um, Death Duck. I don't much catch your accent. There was one word you said the other day that I thought, wait, what? But I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I probably said something weird. Like, it's hard to like reproduce an accent when you're thinking too hard about it. But like, for example, I say the word daughter weird, water, daughter, water, coffee. But I think I lost my accent with the coffee. I don't say it as New Jersey as I used to. Yeah, but my roommates back in Boston used to make fun of me for the word water. They thought that word was funny. Water. Arshad said bread dipped in juice is weird, I guess. Yeah, that sounds weird, but it might be good. You gotta try it, I guess. In America, I guess this isn't that weird. We dip bread in soup a lot. I'm sure you do that too, though, in India. Like, it's very common, like a common food, a common kids' food is to make grilled cheese sandwiches and dip it in tomato soup. That's really common. So I feel like, I don't know, you can Probably make it taste good, dipping it in juice. Bread rusk we dip in soup. Yeah. Death Duck says your water sounds like water and you had a little bit of a coffee going on, but I may have just been listening for it. Yeah. Yeah, I think I lost my accent a little bit. I need to get it back. I need to just hang out with a bunch of Jerseyans for a week and then it'll come back, you know. I had to watch The Sopranos and it'll come back. Yeah, Arshad, you don't know about the all the regional differences. Probably, you might know more than I think, but you probably don't know about all the regional differences in the U.S. and how we like to pick on each other. Deck Duck says, "Time to go to the tanning salon with a beer and your laundry." Yep, that's what it's time to do. That's what New Jerseyans do. If you can't tell, I actually don't tan at all. I try to avoid it because my skin is light and delicate. But to be fair, when I was a kid, I didn't tan, but I did know people um, uh, who had light skin like I did, and who were maybe not a little dumber than me. No offense to them, but it's a little dumb to do this. They would go tanning at like a tanning salon, which is not as common anymore, but used to be pretty common, like 15 so years ago. Pretty common. And they'd go to a tanning salon like almost every day. But they probably and they're only teenagers, right? So they probably damaged their skin so much. It's kind of sad actually. But yeah, gym, tan, laundry. Mhm. Mhm. That's where I'm going. Arshad, I don't have a YouTube channel about English speaking training. But if you want to do some streams where we talk about English, we can. I'm actually an English teacher, and I do teach a lot of ESL. So if you want like to do a stream where we talk about, I mean, I'm a grammar nerd. So if you want to talk about English grammar, or I mean, your English sounds fine. At least the written that I can see, it sounds fine. But you know, we can talk about English grammar and things like that. I mean, I'm kind of a grammar nerd, so that would be fun for me. So just let me know if you're interested. We can do something like that. But yeah, Arshad, your English seems good. Seems good to me. Yeah, but what are some stereotypes that we have about the West Coast? I feel like um in the East Coast we think like Californians are kind of airheaded or ditzy. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else we might think of Californians. I don't know. I feel like here we all like California because of the weather. We always want to go because of the weather. But I do feel like there is a stereotype of that, like, oh, they're a little ditzy. They're not they're you know they're carefree, but kind of like in a bad way. They're slow. Like we think that, oh, they walk too slow or they talk too slow. Um, but yeah, other than that, I feel like we don't really. I feel like we don't really say too much disparaging about Californians. Other than that, I feel like New Jerseyans, yeah, Death Duck, yeah, like Valley Girl Blonde, Surfers Dude, like stuff like that. Yeah, I think New Jerseyans, depending on where, actually, you know, to be fair, New Jerseyans probably dislike each other more than we dislike other places. I feel like there's like Northern Jersey thinks they're better because like we're close to New York City and maybe we feel that we're more sophisticated or something. Definitely more like on the scale of like left to right politics, definitely more left politics. And then like South Jersey is like maybe more rural, and maybe more right wing politics and maybe more similar to Pennsylvania. So we make fun of them. You know, we make fun of Pennsylvania especially because it's our neighbor. We make fun of Pennsylvania for being like, we call it like Pennsyltucky, because it's to us it's like, oh, it's like the farms, like we make fun of them that way. But that's more. I feel like that's an urban-rural divide that's going on for the most part. I feel like that's the divide that's really separating those two. Yeah, Detlix is Pennsyltucky. That's awesome. Yeah. Arshad says your website is very cool. Was it developed in WordPress or React Angular frameworks? Arshad, it's developed on Squarespace, which is kind of like WordPress. It's a website developer. My friend helped me design it and stuff, so I have access to mess with it, and it's not that hard to mess with it myself. But my friend did help me design it initially. But thank you. I'll have to tell her that you like her website that she designed. I always tell her when people tell me that they like that website. But yeah, we call Pennsylvania Pennsyltucky. But the thing is with New Jersey and Pennsylvania, like we have a weird relationship with them because New Jersey has very strict laws, and I'm sure Duck you might have heard of this because I feel like we're very infamous for having a lot of jurisdiction around everything. Bless you, Munchkin. So, for example, some of the laws are good. Like in New Jersey, it's illegal to have, even though people still do it, it's illegal to have like personal fireworks. And not just like sparklers. Like a sparkler would be legal. A sparkler, by the way, is like it's just like a stick with like you light it and it just like that. It's called a sparkler because it sparkles. So you light it and it just kind of goes down, and it's fairly safe. And some smaller ones like the cracklers, I'm pretty sure are legal. But the fireworks that are dangerous, have big. You put them down and they explode up into the air. Those fireworks are illegal to have personal, and so it's illegal in New Jersey to have them and to sell them. So New Jerseyans who want them, because a lot of New Jerseyans want them anyway, will go to Pennsylvania to buy them. So even though it's illegal here, we still get fireworks coming in from Pennsylvania. The same thing is true for guns too. Like the gun laws in New Jersey are very strict. So if people want guns, sometimes they go to Pennsylvania to buy them. So there's probably so many other things that happens with. But yeah, New Jersey has strict laws on stuff. Death Duck says we have rules about fireworks here too, but that's because we live in constant drought. Yeah. And then Death Duck says people still do it though. Yeah, people just drive away from the laws and then come back. Yeah. So that's like a relationship with Pennsylvania. And when I lived in Boston, I realized that was the same relationship that Massachusetts, I don't know how to say that. People from Massachusetts have with New Hampshire. People from Massachusetts will drive over to New Hampshire to get fireworks and things like that. And I was like, oh, it's the same thing. It's like New Jersey and Pennsylvania. But yeah, they just, some of the states, especially on the East Coast, are so close together that you just drive to the state over to avoid the laws. California is pretty big, but it's like long. So maybe you can drive like east a little bit to get to another state. Like Nevada is probably. I imagine if you live in South California, Nevada is probably like very easy to get to, and then just to buy a bunch of random stuff. That's probably, I imagine everything's legal in Nevada. It's a crazy place. I've never been, but I imagine it's a crazy place. I imagine it's the wild, wild west. But yeah. Arshad, in India, are there like different? I'm sure there are, right? Are there different stereotypes about people from different parts of India, like we have here in the United States, where we might judge each other playfully? Usually, it's playfully for living in a different part of the country. There's some squirrels outside. If you were here, you would be able to see them. They're a little distracting. Death Duck says, yeah, most of the time it's in good fun unless it's politics. Then people seem to get a bit more nasty about it. Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that over the years. Like, for example, where I am now anyway, and where Death Duck is too in California, I'm sure it's similar. But Arshad, you might not know about American politics, and you probably don't want to know because it's so ridiculous at this point, and I'm sure it's kind of similar in India. I think the whole world's politics have gotten kind of ridiculous. But like, I live in New Jersey, which is a blue state. Death Duck lives in California, which is also a blue state. And some people's attitudes, like in New Jersey, especially like in the past, like since basically Trumpism, but a little before that too, was kind of that like um, they even call, this is a good example. So, and Death Dug, you probably heard this too in California. They call the South and the Midwest um, flyover country because there's like, I guess, uh, nothing there. So it's also an urban rural divide as well. Like, oh, there's nothing there. There's nothing important there. So it's flyover country. And we kind of make fun of the Southerners and the West, not all the way west like California, but like Midwesterners as being like dumb and like hicks and like things like that. I think it can get kind of brutal, and I never really liked that. I never really liked that kind of tone about, people who live south or Midwest who might be in a red state or might think differently than you. I never liked that. And Death Duck says, yeah, I'm in a pretty blue area, but 2 hour drive to the central part of California, and you are in conservative Trump area. Yeah, in New Jersey, it's kind of similar. Like we are a blue state, and we're not a swing state yet. Although I could see it happening in the future because there is like South Jersey is pretty red, as we say, which is conservative. Um, but really, it's all about because South Jersey is very like if you look at a map of New Jersey by district, you would see that most of the map is red. The difference is that those places that are red are not as populated as the places that are blue. So the places that are conservative, it's probably the same in California. The places that are conservative are not as populated as the places that are liberal. So even though most of the map is red, the blue part, which is the part that I'm in right now, is just going to dominate because it's so overpopulated here. We're in the New York City greater area, so it's just so overpopulated, and that's the part that just kind of controls the rest of the politics, really. Which is, I could see why they would be South Jerseyans don't like that. I could see that why that is, and I'm sure people in Central California it's like that too. Death Duck says, "Oh no, we weren't political. We're breaking rule 2 of the 2 rules." Yeah, I know. I broke the rule. But I guess what I mean is I don't want controversial topics. I think what we're talking about now is not controversial. If we started fighting about who's better, Trump or Biden, which we're not going to talk about, then I'd say that's breaking the rule because I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that or any other things that are in the political news right now. But yeah, general things about like demographics, I think is okay. Yes. Yes. No, I have to do a compilation of Munchkin meowing because that would be great. But yeah, he wants. So you want to know why my cat is crying? He has food. He has water. He's crying because he wants attention. So I don't know. I don't remember if Death Duck has a cat. That's a pretty vocal cat, though, for sure. Yeah, Death Duck, it is a pretty vocal cat. He cries when he wants attention. So yeah, if you have a cat, he might do that. He used to not really do that too much. He's older now, so his behavior has changed a little bit as he got older. So he is more vocal now. He's 15 years old, which is pretty old for a cat. So he is more vocal now than he used to be. So Yeah. Oh, he's not there anymore. He probably got tired of waiting for me. That Duck says, I do not have a cat. I like my stuff to stay on the horizontal surface where I originally placed it. You know, Duck, my cat doesn't knock things over. But you know what he does do, which might be annoying? So I used to leave a cup by my nightstand, a cup of water. So when I got up, I would drink water as soon as I got up. But my cat, likes to drink from my cup of water. He specifically likes my cup of water better than his bowl of water. Even though it's the same water. I give him filtered water too. So it's not like I don't give him filtered water. He just likes mine better because it's mine. So I've caught him in the middle of the night on my nightstand drinking my water. So now I use like a canteen with a cap on it. So I don't use just a cup anymore. But I still keep water by my bed, but just a canteen. That Duck said you should get a really long straw and use it to drink from his bowl and, see how he likes it, because he wouldn't like it, right? Right? You wouldn't like that? He wouldn't like that. He'd get jealous. He'd get jealous. Do you want to say hi?
I'll say hi.
My husband just got home, but he was chatting with you guys, so I need to go eat lunch.
Wasn't.
Yeah, here's my husband. Hi. Getting hungry. Okay, Death Duck, I already ate. I ate like at 1 before. Before you got here, I ate. Yeah, he made a physical appearance, so now you know what he looks like. I'm not just making him up. I'm not just fibbing. Yeah, okay, Death Duck, go eat lunch. It's getting to the end of the stream anyway. It's a little past where I wanted to go, but we were just having a good conversation. Is anyone else still here? I see some people here, but I'm not sure if anyone wants to chat. Yeah, we had a good time. If anyone wants to ask last minute questions, go for it. I'm just gonna end briefly by saying that on Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern time in the United States, so it's Eastern time in the United States, I am going to be showing you how to make sourdough sandwich bread. It's similar to the regular sourdough that I make, but I'm going to shape it a little differently. It's going to be square, which will be good for, if you like your sandwiches to be perfectly square, which sometimes is really nice. So I'll show you how to do that. This is also really great because you don't need a Dutch oven to do it. I'll show you which pan I use to do it. I also don't use bannetons. I just use a Pullman loaf pan. So really nothing too fancy. You probably have a pan that'll work for it at home already. So that would be good. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to do that Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern time on the Twitch stream. And like I said before, we'll see. I'm still trying to get everything right. But I'm thinking that what I'm going to do for this midweek toast is, so I wanted to do 3 on and then 1 off. So that means that the first 3 weeks of the month, I would do my midweek toast on Wednesday, but then 1 week I would have off. So I'll let you know if I'm going to do it next week. I'm thinking of skipping next week for the midweek toast and then continuing on the 6th. Just to make sure I have enough time to do. I want more time to make sure I want to make sure I have enough time to do the YouTube videos, because last week I was really busy. I did 3 streams last week, which was great. I had fun with you guys, but I was really busy. Yeah, Death Duck, it is fun. So I'm glad you keep coming back, Death Duck. I enjoy talking to you, and I like your duck emojis. We have a nice chat together. But hopefully I see you all on Saturday, 8 a.m. If you can't catch the stream, it'll be on my Twitch page for 7 days, and then I'll post it on YouTube, on my YouTube page, if you want to go back and watch it. I also make clips of them, right? Whatever I think is interesting, I might make a clip of, so you can watch the little clips if you don't want to watch the whole stream. Okay, everyone. I'll see everyone soon. Okay, Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you for coming.